Hall, thank you so much for coming on my show. How are you?
I'm fine, Eddie. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. It's afternoon over here in the UK, so I'm a few hours
Oh,
ahead of
okay.
you, but that doesn't matter. I mean,
Sure.
I just can't believe I'm speaking to you. I mean, I grew up watching you in movies. First time I ever saw you was in Bloodsport 2, and when I saw the cover, I thought, oh, because I had no idea who Daniel Bernhardt was. I mean, that was the first time I saw him, and that was the first time I saw you. So, and even the first time I saw Chad Stahelski. I mean, for those who do not know who he is, he's famous for creating and directing all the John Wick universe. So, big shout
Correct.
out to all three of you at the same time. But I just can't get
Sure.
over that I'm speaking to you because you are now the sixth martial arts actor I grew up watching, admiring, and respecting. As a when I was about this big, and now I get to speak to you. This I got to say, it's an absolute honor to have you on my show. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir. I'm very flattered. Yeah, I've been where you are, meaning meeting my heroes and spending time with them and talking with them. It is a very fantastic exchange, and it says something about it reflects on your own life and your relationship with the person that you're talking to. So I get it. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I
But
appreciate
to
it.
introduce
Yeah,
myself, To
please
introduce
go ahead.
myself, my name is Ron Hall. Sure. My name is Ron Hall. I'm an actor, writer, fight choreographer, and filmmaker. You might know me from movies such as Bloodsport 2, Kung Fu Brother, and most notoriously, I'm the writer and director of Vampire Assassin.
Yeah, and basically he's a living legend, and I'm proud to have him on, and I'm honored to have him on my show. That's an overall way how to describe yourself there, Ron. I
Well,
have to
thank you very
admit,
much.
you are not. No, thank you very much for coming on the show. You took
Thank
the
you.
time out from so. So what I'd like to do now, what I've been doing with all my guests, it's part of my culture, it's part of my faith. What I like to do is because you took the time out for myself, I'd like to do something for you in return. So first off, I'd like to send peace and blessings upon you. I pray for you
Thank you.
that you achieve everything that you want to achieve in life. I wish you nothing but the best. I wish all that for your loved ones. And I hope everything that you keep achieving in life, that you achieve it with everything and much more to follow along that way as well. Amen to that. I'd like to do that for you.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very beautiful sentence.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Number two,
Do
I'd
me
like
one favor.
to.
Let me adjust my volume. It
Oh,
seems like it's a little okay. Okay, go ahead.
no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. So, number two, I'd like to say congratulations on all your accomplishments as a martial artist, as an actor, as a writer, a director, a fight choreographer. You've done it all. And again, I hope more comes your way as well to achieve the greatness that you are destined to have.
Well, thank you very much. If I had my choice, I wouldn't have done it all, but I had to kind of forge a path, my own path, since the traditional path, there were a lot of obstacles for me in the traditional path in terms of, when I was doing movies, um, there was very limited opportunities to do martial art movies for anyone. And
Yeah,
even if you're African American, they were even more limited. There never were like about 5 or 10 guys at the same time all doing martial art action movies. It usually was one or two. And
that is true.
if people don't give you the type of opportunity that you think you can, handle or deserve, you have to create your own opportunity. So, first I had to become a fight choreographer so that I could show what I thought I was able to do on camera. Even though I worked with some wonderful fight choreographers like Fred Esplana from the Philippines, those guys were amazing. They used to work with all the Hong Kong guys. Used to go to the Philippines, and they would work with this one stunt group. And just learning and going through that path of becoming a filmmaker and trying to put out the vision of like how I see myself in a film and how the type of stories that I want to tell in terms of martial arts movies. Sometimes I would be in a movie, they would give me the script and I'd read the lines. I'm like, oh my God, I got to say this. And it would come off exactly how I felt saying it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, I understand. I understand. I understand. And before we get into, because my interview show is called Chat Over Coffee, and it's an important question I have to ask you in case we ever meet and we have to sit down and we get sit down in person and have coffee. Most important question is, how do you like your coffee in case we meet?
Well, I do not drink coffee, but I'm sure we could find some fantastic hot chocolate wherever we go. So we're good.
Done. Consider that done.
Yes, sir.
It's on me. Yeah, we'll do that.
It's on you. All right.
So as another gift, as a gift. Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
again, I am very esteemed. I am very honored, and it's a big. I am really excited to speak to you. And again, I've watched your stuff for so many years. When I saw you for the first time in Bloodsport 2, as I mentioned, you were absolute show stealing. You definitely was. I'd never seen kicks like that. The way you would throw kicks was like I had to keep slowing it down. Like, do you remember the old VHS days when we used to? Sometimes you could slow it down, just see the accuracy. I've never seen
Mm.
kicks with such power, such speed and accuracy before. The way you
Yeah, well,
displayed that in Bloodsport 2.
yeah. Well, I think that comes from when I very first started, working in films. I could do the movement, but it wasn't a lot of power. There are people I look
Right.
at today, they can do the movement, but in terms of the power. So people would always go, more power, more power. And so I started to develop my power. And I always took the approach that even though my fighting is kind of fantastical in terms of the real, reality, I always
Yes.
want you to think you're looking at a fight, that somebody is
Yes.
actually fighting and that you're delivering blows that would hurt. So that's why I try to develop power. And even if I'm doing something acrobatic, I'm going to put a power into it so that you get the sense that, oh, he could probably do that for real. No, it just looks like I could do that for real. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's absolutely fine. So moving into the interview, what is your martial arts background and where was the inspiration from?
My martial art background is two martial arts. I took Mudokan karate, which is kind of like the progenitor of Taekwondo and Tang Sudo. They both come from
Awesome.
Mudokan, from Korea.
Okay.
So I took a Mudokan at a recreation center in Washington, D.C., and I was the worst student. My brother and my friends, they all were better than me. I was uncoordinated, slow, no speed, no power, one of the worst in the class. And they had a name for me. They used to call me Super Sorry.
Oh, that
And,
sucks.
oh yeah, yeah. And, but learning the basics of martial arts improved me. I like my
Yes.
brother and my friends had gone on to be like, brown and blue belts, and I was still back at like my white and yellow belt. But learning the basics, step by step, mastering the foundations allowed me to get better. And, a few years later, they would say I was the best of us, because we always have these karate fights. There would be this empty lot, and it'd be like 20 of us, and we all meet over there and have karate movie fights, and it would just be fantastic. So, I went from being super sorry to everybody want me on their side. So, and after that, yeah, and then after
So
that,
it's
and
almost
so, yeah,
yeah.
and then after that, I took wushu. I took wushu kung fu from Willie Lin.
Oh
Willie
yes.
Lin is a wushu master from China that came to America and opened some very prominent wushu schools, and he has some very prominent students. Dennis Brown, if you're familiar with Dennis Brown, he
Yeah,
was
rings.
Dennis Brown
Yeah.
was in. If you ever seen Chang Chi's The Dancing Warrior with Ricky Chin, the guy from the Super Ninjas, Dennis
I,
Brown is the black guy with the rope dart, which is something he's known for. Then you have Chuck Jeffries. Chuck Jeffries also comes from Willie Lynn. Chuck was actually one of my students. When I used to go to Eastover, Chuck had a school on Andrews Air Force Base, but when I would go to Eastover, Chuck would come and he'd be one of the students, like correcting our stances, making sure we're doing all our carters correctly and getting our forms. So Chuck was one of my teachers. And then me, I'm next after Chuck. And then after me is Willie Bam Johnson, who was on MANC Masters. And he's now a filmmaker doing his films. I think he has a film out called One Against 100. And it's on Tubi if you guys want to see it. So we all come from Willie Lynn. And so when I would look at martial art movies, the inspiration when I took martial arts, there was a disconnect because I did not see what I saw in the movies. In the movies, I saw guys doing amazing visually. And then, when I was taking martial arts, it was basically 1, 2, three, you do this, you do that, and
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah.
really doing any amazing kung fu stuff. And that was frustrating for a while until I kind of began to understand that they were developing me to become more advanced. A lot of times when I meet young people just get into it and they tell me, "Well, I want to do something amazing." Well, I understand because that's what we all want to do. But creativity comes from, I heard this has been my brain for years, but I heard one of my idols, she's an R&B singer named Patrice Rushen. And she put it so just succinctly and powerfully. She said, creativity comes from first imitation. You imitate what you see. Then
Yes.
assimilation. What you see becomes a part of you. And then inspiration, that in your own self, between your creative, your innovation and imitation, you become inspired to express how you see it and how you do it. And that's where the creativity comes from. So when people ask me what martial art they should take, I always say, take a martial art that's a complete martial arts system so that you can build upon it. Because a lot of people just start with learning some moves.
Yes.
So what
Yes.
happens is they have a hard time adapting many other principles in martial arts in terms of stamina, strength, speed, power, agility, form, all of these things that goes into not only martial art fighting, but martial art presentation. A lot of people say, well,
Yes.
forms are no good. No, forms are amazing to teach you how to move your body and understand your movement in relation to the art that you're learning. Forms are excellent for that. Fighting won't teach you that, but
That is true.
forms will do that. So, so that's kind of like the evolution of my martial arts, is that, those two traditional styles in movies. I loved martial art movies. I can remember me and my brother, we were probably about, I want to say I was like 5 or 6 years old, and my brother was probably about 4. And my mother used to send us to bed like 6 o'clock. And we would talk till like 10 o'clock or whatever. And
Yeah.
my mother and them, they were playing TV one night, and it was crazy loud, and we heard all this crashing and going on. And me and my brother crawled from the bedroom, and we were under the table, and we were looking at TV, and it was Bruce Lee and Marlon, and it was the
Ooh.
scene where he
Oh,
was
yes. Yes. Yes.
bashing up the office,
Breaking
and I
the
was
odds. Yeah, classic.
I was
That was
blown.
classic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I had never seen anything. I don't even think I saw martial arts on TV ever, but I was blown away. I had that on my mind for years. And then, so maybe 2 years later, we had a friend who we grew up with. His father took us to go see a double feature of, the Big Boss, it was called Fist of Fury when I saw
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
title for the Big Boss. And then they had Lady Kung Fu, which was Hapkido with Angela Mao. So I saw those two movies, and when we saw them, it was like inspirational and traumatizing, because the violence in the movies when they're killing all the students. Especially,
Yeah.
we saw like the Fist of Fury version where they put the people on the saws in the ice and cut through them, and like 7, 8 years old, watching people,
Yeah. Yeah.
blood
Yeah.
everywhere. It was just crazy. So when we came out of those movies, we were transformed. Everybody coming out of the movie, you saw people just wiggling their hands in the air trying to kick. And after that, I was like, just martial arts was my thing. Never once thought about getting in a movie because it seemed like another world. Because when I went to the movie theater back then, when I walked into a movie theater, it was like I was transported to another world. Like, when you saw the Venom's movies, you're like, where are these
Yeah.
guys? Like, where do they hang out? And there was nothing in your life that looked, I'm from Northeast Washington, D.C. Nothing in my life looked like what I saw in a Shaw Brother movie or, Lisa Nam movie. So, I was just fascinated with martial art movies, and, I kept practicing, and with no idea I wanted to go into the movies. So what ended up happening, I went in the Army, and when I was in the Army, there was a guy, his name was Sergeant Franklin. He was my
Oh,
superior, and he loved martial art movies. Now, mind you, I went to see a whole bunch of martial art movies, but never thought I was going to be in one. So Sergeant Franklin would watch all kind of martial art movies. He'd pass them on to me and everybody else. And he used to say, Paul, man, I think you as good as those guys. I'm like, no, man. He said, oh no, man, look, like John Woo, you can hold your leg up like that. I used to do a thing where I could like hold my leg. Almost, my mother used to get so mad at me. It was like my foot could be on the ceiling and I could be standing on the floor. And she always said, yeah, when you get famous, I'm gonna show people how you jacked up my ceilings. But Sergeant Franklin, he kept encouraging. He said, man, you're pretty good, man. You can go to the movies. And I started thinking like, but it was such a remote possibility because there was nothing in my life that said I could do a martial art movie. So what ended up happening was a couple of years later, after I got out the Army, George Chung of, Black Belt, who runs Black Belt magazine today, him and Chuck Jeffries used to do movies together. And they had a seminar in Washington, D.C. called How to Get into Movies. And I mean, it was like 3 hours away from me. It was in the D.C. area. I didn't have a car. I had to catch the bus, ride all the way out there. And this seminar was 2 days. I mean, it could have been 3 days, but I know it was at least 2. And so we went to the seminar and they basically gave us a blueprint of you do this, you do that, you get your headshots, you go to California, you contact the stunt coordinator, they laid it out. And about another year later, I moved to California. And at that time, I was probably about like 27 years old. I moved to California. Everybody thought I was crazy. My parents, my family, like, you going, my father, I can remember my father giving me a talk like, you got a great job. You got a nice car. You got a nice girlfriend. And you're going to go all the way to California to be in kung fu movies. You know what I mean? People, California spit up and chew out and, and stuff like that. And, but so I went. And, I was fortunate enough to begin working in movies. It took me about 9 months from the time that I got to California to the time I did my first movie. It took about 9 months. And I used to live in this rental house where they would rent rooms to people. So all the guys used to laugh at me because I treated it kind of like, I came from a business background. I used to be a manager in finance and all that craziness. And I just treated myself. I was the product. And this is how I'm going to market myself. I'm going to get my pictures. I'll make a little video, so I did all of those things. And about 9 months later, I was working in movies.
Congratulations. I mean, it's great. It was great that all that, you could tell all that hard work paid off and everything. And then obviously you got your first big break and everything. And, nothing but greatness has been following you ever since.
Well, you know what? I think there's a bit of there's a bit of naivety to it too, because I didn't, it's like, I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, they gave me the blueprint, but I didn't know it was going to work. And I was just basically doing the best I can. And there was a degree of luck because one thing that ended up happening. One thing that happened was Eric Lee, who is Eric Lee's? Yeah, Eric Lee's one of the greatest martial arts.
He's an absolute legend.
Form tournament martial art master. He's still amazing. Like right now, you see Eric Lee do his kung fu. However old he is, he's still amazing, powerful, can do the splits, everything. But he was the first person I met when I got to California. Can somebody get Simba? He was the first person that I met, and maybe about a couple of months later, him and Art Camacho were doing a Don Wilson movie called, not Don Wilson. It was a Jeff Wincott movie called Deadly Bet. Deadly Bet.
Yeah.
So they wanted me. So Eric called me down. He said, we need some extras. So could you be an extra? So I said, yeah. I went on down, said I'm looking at, and then they said, hey, some guy didn't show up. Martial arts, right? He said, let me see what you can do. And then, I kicked around, jumped around, and then him and Art Camacho, they looked at each other. They were like, oh, come on, we're going to put you in the movie. So they gave me a fight scene. I don't know who I fought. It's in Deadly Bet. And I was trying back then, you can see it looks kind of silly because I was trying to do acrobatic stuff, like I did a dive roll where the guy was like 10 feet away or something to get to him and stuff. And it just kind of, you could see me kind of working out the dynamics of stuff I would become known for later in that.
Oh, yeah, that is true. Yeah. That is true.